Hello, everybody out in Maryland's beautiful 8th Congressional District. It's your Congressman, Jamie Raskin, coming to you with a very special episode of my favorite time of the week, Local Hero. Today is January 6th, 2023. It's the second anniversary, the 2-year anniversary of the massive violent assault on American democracy that took place on January 6th, 2021. And for my local hero, I have a man who stood in the breach and threw everything that he's got physically, mentally, emotionally into defending the U.S. Congress, the vice president, and the American system of government. This is Sergeant Aquilino Gonell. You are our local hero this week. Sergeant Gonell, thank you so much for agreeing to do this.
Thank you for having me, Congressman.
We salute you for your bravery and for your patriotism, and I get to learn more and more about you all the time. And your life story is an extraordinary story. But I want to start by asking how you're doing today on January 6th, 2023, how you're feeling physically, emotionally, and mentally.
Physically, I have come a long way. Most of the injuries, physical injury, had healed to the point of as best as they could. I still have lifelong injuries that are permanent, and that will not get better even with time.
That's your shoulder,
My
your
shoulder,
hand, your
my
foot.
hand, and my foot. But I come to term to accept my limitations. There are certain things I can do and something I cannot do. I just have to be mindful whenever I do them to if I'm reaching with my left hand arm, then I need to shield my, kind of like shielding myself a little bit, or rearrange my the way I do things mentally. I, it's a mix. As I was mentioning to you earlier, I was driving down to a doctor's appointment just today, and out of nowhere, I sensed a big dark feeling of despair, and I began to cry. Like, I can't believe this happened, and 2 years later, I'm still dealing with that ramification of it. And even though I'm sick, I have been treated for mental health. That still continue. I struggle with some of those things that happened that day.
Well, it's important for people to understand that this is part of the continuing legacy of the violence and the insurrection, that it's not just you, but there are 150 officers and hundreds of more people who are still dealing with the wounds and the injuries inflicted by that spectacular explosion of violence and unreason that day, and conspiracy theory and disinformation and everything. Um, we are with you. As I've told you before, we will do whatever we can to help you get through this. Now, you've had to leave the Capitol Police Force because of these injuries as of December 17th of last year, right?
That is correct, Carlos.
Um, and
I mean, I
uh,
had to. I talking over to my my mental provider. It's triggering every single day that you go to work and people downplay what happened to me and to my colleague. Certain words, certain comments, certain smell, uh, seeing walking down the hallways of Congress, or the Capitol, and then you see some of the very same people that I risked my life for, that continue to downplay the events of that day, when they themselves were the target of the mob. Um, they are either complicit, um, unapologetic, and I run into many of them on the hallways, and they even say, "I'm sorry for what happened to you." They rather look away, or pretend that I'm not there, or pretend that they are on the phone. Some of them, they stare back at me, eye to eye, and don't say anything. At one point last year, right before the summer break for the Senate, I got into the elevator with Lindsey Graham. Lindsey Graham, the person that continued to say that he backs the police officers, the rule of law and order, and all this stuff. I was in the elevator, just me and him, and I had the police radio on my hand, and made it loud enough to say, "Sergeant Gonell, I'm on my way up there to the second floor." And that particular individual didn't even look at me in the eye. He turned around to the corner of the elevator and pretended I was not even there. But this is the same person that go publicly and say that he support the police, back the blue, the rule of law, personal responsibilities, whatnot. So he might as well just call me an insult, and I believe that more.
One of the things we've learned is that it's one thing to say you support the police in theory as some kind of political platform. It's another to actually support the police when they're under attack and they're being beaten up by your political supporters and people who say that, they're on your side. And this has been a shocking thing to watch.
Correct.
For
I mean, you
Americans.
have the day of our testimony, Harry, Fanon, Hodges, myself. And I think I mentioned that on the testimony myself again. We have Marjorie Taylor Greene and a whole bunch of other Looney Tunes in front of this Department of Justice asking Eric Garland to Merrick Garland to release the same people who assaulted police officers on January 6th, the same people who assaulted me and my colleagues while defending them, the congressmen and the senators. In full police uniform, they attack us with the same American flag and with the banners of Trump paraphernalia and whatnot. They attack us. And for them to have that, I guess, type of thinking, what it tells me is that in their twisted mind, the police officers were the one attacking the Capitol. We were the ones storming the Capitol because we prevented their supporters from taking over and kill many of you and your colleagues. It says a lot about them rather than the officers, because we did what we were supposed to. We did our job. We kept you guys safe. Yes, they breached the Capitol, but ultimately none of you guys were hurt. None of you got injured. We did, and for them to call them patriots and hugs and kisses, or love fest, or that one day in January, like the vice president continued to say that we are so hung up. Well, that one day in January had cost me so much: my job, my career, my financial stability, my time with my family, and my sense of belonging in this country. Because at some point they were throwing racial slurs, epithets at us, not knowing that I served my country for half of my life, 43 years. I'm 43 now. I spent 60 in the Capitol Police and 8 in the Army Reserves. So
you were also active duty in Iraq.
Correct. So I am the right, if you want to put it in quotation, the right type of immigrant they would claim that they want in this country, but yet they don't believe me or act like I'm one of them, because this time the people attacking the Capitol were supportive of their president, former President Trump. Like, imagine this same incident happening in 2016 when Hillary Clinton and her supporters were so devastated about the loss. Will they be okay with this type of behavior happening? I doubt that. And they continue to conflate Black Lives Matters, type of riot compared to threatening the government, the system of governance that we had. They could have taken Portland, Minnesota, Black Lives Matters, or the Antifa, and our system of self-governance was not threatened by that. This is when they came to the Capitol in the summer of 2020, Black Lives Matters and Antifa, they didn't attack the Capitol, but Trump supported it on January 6th, and that they continue to conflate that.
Well, I mean, to state the obvious, Black Lives Matter is a nonviolent movement which has embraced nonviolence, and obviously everybody rejects any violent
correct
attacks that take place. But that's very different from Donald Trump assembling a crowd that turns into a mob with his knowledge and his knowing that people are armed and angry, and then directing them at the Capitol with no other plan than to go and stop the steal and fight like hell, or you won't have a country anymore. I mean, I think we showed in the January 6th committee exactly what happened. What is it like for you when you hear Trump today saying that he wants to get back in office and grant a mass pardon to the people who were involved, the insurrectionists, the people who've been convicted of assaulting federal officers or destroying federal property or, interfering with a federal proceeding?
Well, again, this is coming from the party and for the people that continue to say that they back the blue in law and order. Okay, so you have thousands of people attacking the Capitol, chasing and hunting down each member of Congress, elected official. And if this were to happen at their house or their office or their courthouse, wouldn't they want some type of accountability? I'm sure they would if their family is being threatened, if their friends are being kicked and punched, if their daughter is being pushed, if their house is being breached, if their house is being doors are being broken and the windows as well. They would want somebody to stand up like we did, the officers, and face the danger while they go and get to safety. When I hear the former president saying that, all that I support you, and it's a facade. It's false. It's him pretending that he is a leader, but he's not a leader. He just telling people what they want to hear, and he does not have the interest of any of them but himself. He could care less about what happened to me as a police officer.
Has he ever tried to get in touch with you or
No.
Officer Dunn or any of the other officers?
As far as I know, the only, at least on my case, the only two Republicans that have come in and talked to me and hear my story has been Adam Kinzinger and Liz Cheney. Nobody else out of those, I don't know, 300 or more Republicans that are in Congress, or 200 plus, both from the Senate or the House. Nobody had reached out to me and say, Sergeant Gonell, I don't agree with what happened. I'm sorry what happened to you. Nobody. So only you guys and the officers that have come forward and say, as a matter of fact, they give me the shoulder in terms of the political elected officials that I risk my life. I ran into Kevin McCarthy one day. He bolted to the right. I ran into Stephania. She bolted. She didn't say anything. Bober, Marjorie Taylor Greene, Ted Cruz, Marco Rubio. I have a long list of people that I ran into, and they just literally stare back at me. Oh, that's him. Let me go the other way. When I was there as a police officer, I was not going to be confrontational to you or anybody. If you talk to me, I'll talk to you. But I don't need to be confrontational to get my point across. Hey, I'm sorry. or just have a normal conversation. Whatever they did, they had to live with themselves. I know what I did. I did my job. I did what I was supposed to. They have more fealty to one guy rather than the Constitution, the better and what's best for the country.
You have shared with me, Sergeant Gonell, some of the writings you've been doing about your life right now. I think it's an absolutely spellbinding story because you are an immigrant to the country with your family. You grew up, I hope you don't mind my saying, under difficult, adverse circumstances at home and not with a lot of money. It's been a struggle for you for your whole life. And one of the things I said at one of the hearings was that, your patriotism is so admirable. Um, and I don't think that somebody like Donald Trump could ever understand the patriotism of someone like you. And one of the things you wrote was about um, learning the word patriotism when you first got to the country. And I wonder if you would reflect on patriotism today on the second anniversary of the attack.
Um, I think Donald Trump would not know what patriotism is, even if it slapped him in the face, to be honest. Because if he was a true patriot, he would have stepped aside like everybody else before him and allowed the peaceful transfer of power happen as it was intended to. Out of our history in our country, he's the only one that has disgraced that process. And after holding the office, after the population overwhelmingly decided that he was not fit to continue his duty as a president. Patriotism to me, it had grown over the years. Again, at first, I joined the military out of necessity, but then once I was in, I began to learn about it and learn the military doctrines and the ethos and cadence and stuff like that. So I learned a lot. I struggled with learning the language and having questioned a lot of those things because not because I wouldn't want to understand it, but I couldn't understand the language. So it was a little difficult for me. I think it will give a great picture of my character and what I had done. Had January 6th not ever happened, I would have continued to be that person, only a lot quieter, because I didn't had the need to speak up, to become vocal about it, about what was happening around me. I had a career, 7 years left before my mandatory retirement, and I enjoyed playing basketball. I enjoyed spending time with my family, with my wife, and doing trips and seeing you guys at work. I'm very proud of everything that I had done, and especially when before I became public about talking about my experiences on January 6th. Sometimes my relatives back home will call me, hey, I just saw you in the background of a news report because you were behind Obama or Biden or Bush or Trump or one of the congressmen, whatever big items of legislation you guys were working on it. Most of the time I was behind them, behind the scene, protecting you guys. So, and that's the way I think myself and a lot of my colleagues saw that. There was no need for us to become vocal about something that happened to us, but January 6th changed all that and still change our lives. Some of the officers haven't dealt with it. I learned how to deal with it by speaking up. Some people, everybody deals with it differently. Some people stay quiet. Some people are keep it tight, but until they can no more. And in our culture as a police officer, we tend to internalize things and keep it to ourselves. And I learned that for me, based on my PTSD from the Army, that I couldn't bear the burden of having two type of PTSD at the same time. And when January 6th happened, then my army PTSD came back with a vengeance, and it's like really overwhelmed me to the point that I at some point I think I wouldn't be here if I didn't seek help, to be honest.
Well, Sergeant Gonell, you know, America's still trying to figure out how to commemorate and mark the occasion of January 6th. It's obviously very early. It's just the second anniversary. We could focus on just the villains, on Donald Trump and Roger Stone and Steve Bannon and the people who tried to overthrow our constitutional order. Um, or we could focus on the heroes, or maybe some combination thereof. But you are in the pantheon of heroes, the people like Brad Raffensperger in Georgia and Shay Moss, the election worker, and along with your fellow officers, Harry Dunn and Hodges and Michael Fanone, you were on the very front lines for hours and hours of what you have correctly described as medieval style combat. And so you're a hero to us. I hope that doesn't add to your burdens that we have to place our energy on you on January 6th, but we have to look to what was positive there. And it was the revelation of so much great, ferocious patriotism, willing to fight for the country against those who would try to destroy everything that we've built. So for all these reasons, here in Maryland's beautiful 8th District, Sergeant Gonell, you're our local hero this week, and you will always be a hero to me. Thank you for your service. We are here to stand by you, and we wish you well in your continuing journey back to health.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It's a great honor to be honored with this award, and also thank you, you and the other committee members for uncovering a lot of the truth that led to what happened on January 6th. It's important that every American citizen know the truth, as ugly as it is on both sides, what they did and what we also did as a police officers, because literally we were the blue line in the midst of chaos that day. And had it not been for the actions that officers and myself, my colleagues did, we will be seeing a different story coming out.
Thank you very much. All best to you, Sergeant Gonell.
Right. Thank you. Have a good one.